Hello, I am David Gyasi, aka DG.
What's happening? I am Guvna B, aka GB.
And this is a very warm welcome to AFCONnect, the first ever podcast that truly celebrates Africa, its football, and the impact of the players all around the world. Guvna B, we're at semi-final stage. How are you doing, man? How are you? Have you enjoyed it? Have you gotten into it? Are you there now? Are you excited? What's going on?
Compared to previous tournaments, it's definitely taken me a lot longer to get into this tournament, particularly from a kind of patriotic English pathway, having been someone that was born in England, raised in England, obviously of Ghanaian heritage, like yourself. I think earlier on in the tournament, the African teams and the joy that stories like Cape Verde brought to the tournament, obviously having Ghana in the tournament, was what kind of carried my excitement. But as the majority of them have been eliminated, my excitement's gone down a little bit, but it's, slightly raised with the fact that England could do quite well. I absolutely love the fact that the people that have reported, I'd say, critical storylines on Jude Bellingham are being made to eat their words. I love his confidence. I wouldn't call it an arrogance, but I like that he's unapologetically confident in his ability, and he's backing that up with goals and carrying a team, essentially, along with Harry Kane. So, if we win the semi-final, we get to the final, I'll be happy. But, yeah, man, I don't know. It's a weird tournament for me, I'm not going to lie. How about yourself?
Well, that's a really interesting point on Jude Bellingham, because I was thinking about that today and wondering whether there are many people that are celebrating Jude Bellingham's prowess, really, and poise, and just like elegance in all of it. The football playing, the interviews, the leadership, the galvanizing the players, the galvanizing the spirit. And what I was thinking about that is that it's so often that if something negative happens within a culture or a group of people, sometimes it can be reported in the press that the whole group of that people are responsible for that, or the whole group of that people are associated with that. And so it strikes me, and it sort of makes sense that when you get an example like this, that a whole bunch of people that kind of see themselves in Jude or can relate to Jude's story go, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what I see in myself. And that's what I see in my brothers and my sisters and my uncles and my parents and all of that. So it's a really interesting thing, not to put that on Jude, because I don't think he needs any more pressure. But I think he and his family understand what it is that he's doing. And even afterwards, when he's talking about, for him, it's about being together, the nation, everyone celebrating together, regardless of where you're coming from or where you're like on one accord, heading in one direction, is really interesting leadership to me.
100%. I completely agree. You make such a good point about being able to, see ourselves in him in a way without putting pressure on him. How many of us have been underestimated or had our critics, and I think when you see someone like him delivering, it's I don't know, football's interesting. The uniting power of football and its ability to transfer some of the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions into our own lives. It's really powerful, man.
Another question for you. Can you separate sport from politics? Because I have this conversation a lot, and people are like, I just want to leave the politics out. I don't want to talk about that. I just want to focus on the football.
I think if you're really intentional about doing it, and obviously helps if the teams that you're supporting are successful throughout the tournament, I think you can, almost as a form of escapism, but I'm not sure that you can deny the depth of impact that decisions made in a footballing capacity have a trickle down effect on the rest of society. But I do love that we have access to more information now, and people are starting to think for themselves. I saw it recently with, I think it was Gabriel Clark for ITV, interviewing Thomas Tuchel after the game, picking and choosing what he would relay to Jude Bellingham, who he interviewed shortly after, and explained to him that the manager had been critical. And it was interesting seeing the reaction on social media, because people straight away clocked that this isn't a Tuchel and Bellingham problem in terms of how they responded to the questions, but this is the media trying to create a bit of a storm in a teacup we should be celebrating. And I feel like maybe 5-10 years ago, we wouldn't have clocked on so early to the fact that the media are responsible for some of these narratives that we see. And in the past, we've pitted the team against each other, but we can see through it now, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wanna just gently just put a shout out for the media, because I would imagine the tension in that stadium. England have just got through to the semis now, isn't it? They've just got through to the semis. Jude Bellingham adrenaline is right up there. Thomas Tuchel's adrenaline is where it is. And this guy knows he's got 20, 30 seconds to get the questions out. Is it that calculated? Or is it subconscious? Is it unconscious? Is it vindictive? I don't know. What say you?
I don't think it's calculated, and I don't think it's vindictive either. I think it speaks generally to the attitude, maybe subconsciously, that the media have. And I think that sometimes as viewers of football, we are on high alert anyway, because we've been in tournaments where the Sakas, the Rashfords, the Jadon Sanchos have missed penalties, and we've seen how even if subconscious, these headlines, you know, the kind of real impact they can have on people's lives. And maybe we read too much into it. So obviously it's a human being. Like you said, it's a kind of high pressure environment, emotions, tensions running high. So yeah, I don't think it's intentional at all, but I just think we're on high alert, aren't we?
Thank you. Thank you for that, man. I think that brings wonderful clarity to that. And you know, as always, we're never ending a conversation on this platform. It's about starting them and hoping that they go deeper and continue on. One of the things that you were talking about, one of the things you said there about the media not being intentional. You and I, we watch AFCON, and we've watched these teams, and we've watched the brilliance and the desire and the heart, and the sheer entertainment. And so it's been really interesting. It's been really nice to see so many African teams on the global stage doing what they do. But I don't think you or I were necessarily shocked by the results or the performances or the level of football. And it was really interesting to see people in the media and people in the public going, didn't they do well? Oh my, haven't they, you know, and I think I heard Gary Neville, who is someone who I really respect, actually. I really love a lot of what he says, which is something I never thought I would ever say as a Liverpool fan. I kind of hated the fact I liked what he was saying. But he said something about the Cape Verde team crying, saying that, you know, they never want to leave. They never want to leave this. They want to stay here for the rest of their lives. This is the moment of their lives. And I don't know, there is a little bit there of just a lack of understanding, perhaps, of actually the levels that these players, these teams, the expectation around these teams, the levels that they're performing at. Maybe there is a disparity between the reality of what's going on and the mentality of these teams and what is perceived. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely, I would. And, you know, just to add on to that, I think, you know, for those of us that watch tournaments like AFCON, and the quality that we're seeing now in the World Cup is no surprise to us. Sometimes it can be quite discouraging when the rest of the world, especially ex-professionals and pundits, don't necessarily see that. But how satisfying and encouraging is it when they catch up, however late it is, and they realize, oh, okay, like these guys, they know what they're doing. They're well-coached teams. They have the desire. They have the quality. The way, like teams like Senegal, the way they actually played their games, it wasn't like they were just clinging on. They really took the game to their opponents. So it's also been satisfying to see, people in those positions give the continent the respect it's due. I do have a bone to pick with you, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Come, bring it.
He said, "Bring it." Why are you always on smoke? I said, "Come, ready." Nah, but I just, I thought we were kind of a team doing this podcast together, shining a light on the continent. And I was getting ready to play a festival last week. Put a message in the group chat and found out that you decided to take, I don't know whether it's a work trip or a holiday. Let's just call it a work trip. You decided to go to Morocco on your own. With your family, and we didn't get an invite. Obviously Morocco were playing in the World Cup at the time. It must have been an unreal atmosphere. So yeah, bro, I'm not happy that you've taken a work trip without me, actually.
Without you, and to be honest, let's just big you up doing your festivals and everything right now. I've seen the videos. I was supposed to be at that festival. I'm going to confess, I was late to the festival. I missed Guvna B's show. I was coming back from Marrakech. I do apologize, Guvna B. I want to publicly apologize to you for that.
But how about the apology on how about the apology
not taking you with us?
Yeah. Because didn't you think while you were there, wow, this would be an incredible location for AFCONnect?
To be honest, no. I had an amazing time. Thank you for asking. With the belt in my trouser, the love of my life, my wife.
The belt I've not heard that one before. That's very romantic, bro.
It's nice,
well done, man.
Yeah. The
cool.
Sugar in my tea. Do you know, it was super interesting to be in an African country whilst the football team is playing in a major competition, because it felt like everyone was involved. Like I'll be walking around the village here saying, "Are you watching the World Cup?" Not really getting into it. Do you know what I mean? Like Kane's the only one doing anything, and I'm like, "Oh, what about Bellingham?" Yeah, I suppose he's doing a bit as well. But it's just 48 teams, not really into it. Direct quote from what I'm having around here. I'll be in Marrakech speaking to the lady who is making bread, saying, "Did you watch the football?" She'll say, "Yes, I was up till 10 this morning." And it is incredible the way the whole nation moves. It was also interesting. I don't know if I was a little bit naughty, but I was fascinated because one of the games we watched in a bar was Senegal, Belgium. We started off watching it in the marketplace, and then we ended up in a bar and we watched it. And the cheer when Belgium scored was super interesting to me, brother. Super interesting.
Because African teams are normally quite supportive of each other. And obviously the kind of rivalry is very new. So I'm thinking, how deep is it for the Moroccans?
Yeah, right. So it's so interesting because one of the guys said, one of the waiters said, "Sorry, are you Senegalese?" I said, "No, bro, I'm just African. So I'm supporting every." He said, "Yeah, I'm African too." And I said, "Yeah, no, I get that." But I'm just interested in, they feel like what happened in that AFCON final. I mean, it's just the beginning of a major rivalry, and I think this will go on for generations. I don't know what will end it. And I ended up speaking to one of the guys saying, like, and this is where I was a bit naughty. I said, "So in your opinion, who are the champions of Africa?" And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, like Senegal are the champions. He said, no. He said, I cannot believe what they did on that pitch. This is just one person's opinion, right? So he's not speaking for the whole nation. He said, I cannot believe what they did on that pitch. I can't get over that. And CAF have awarded us a 3-0 win, and that seems fair. And I said,
do they view themselves as champions?
That's one person opinion.
Yeah.
And it's important that we state that. That's one person's opinion. But I said, that's so interesting to me. I said, what do you make of the towels? And he was like, what do you mean, the towels? I said, we saw images of towels being taken and all sorts of... He said, oh, yeah. And this is where it gets a little bit deep. And where don't worry, Pan-Africans, I'm going to bring this back and we're going to all walk out of here hand in hand. But I think it's important that we have these conversations and we start them and we see them through. So I said to him, what's that? And he said, well, we believe, he said, lots of us believe that, people are bringing, or some of these nations are bringing their juju and they put it in the towel. So we are saying we're throwing. And I said, wow. And it's so interesting that narrative around spirituality, and especially African spirituality, is deemed as so powerful that it can really affect, because the amount of South American teams I saw praying, holding rosary beads or whatever, but no one else is grabbing their keeper's towels and throwing them away, or the Muslim nations praying and people are saying, hey, you can't bring Allah into this or God into this. So it's a really interesting thing that, again, that's why I asked the question, can we separate politics and football? Because for me, it's a bit like saying, can you separate communication or connection and something? It's like, it's life. What we're talking about is life here, and people's outpouring and outworkings of life.
That's a really interesting vantage point, though, because I hadn't made the connection between witchcraft, essentially, and the towels, which it seems like this Moroccan that you spoke to had. And now I'm kind of thinking back to the dedication that those guys had when it came to confiscating those towels. It brings a bit of logic to what we were seeing without, justifying it or confirming that was the reason.
And again, it's one person's opinion. He may have just been reaching. He may have not been expecting that question, and he reached for his own towel and threw that in. But what I will end is with this. I read this beautiful kind of I guess it's a bit like a parable or a story, a beautiful story about a samurai who has 3 children, and he gives each of them a stick, a reed, and says, break it. And they all break it. And then he gives them 3 reeds and he binds them together, and he gives that bound of 3 reeds to one son, and he can't break it, and the other one can't, and the other one can't. And he says to them, if you stick together,
wow,
it's impossible to break you. And rivalries, football rivalries, all of that, but there is something. If the African continent manages to stick together, there's a beauty in supporting
100%.
one another. And there's a lot going on in South Africa at the moment, but if we manage to stick together, there is a real power in that.
I completely agree. I got one question though. Just doesn't have to be a long answer.
Yeah.
But obviously,
Emma will be happy.
We do want to stick together, but I'm going to ask you a question to get you off the fence. In your eyes, the eyes of DG, who are the champions of the recent African Cup of Nations?
Senegal. I like, without there's no question for me. There's no question at all.
Cool. Did you say that when you were in Morocco?
No, because I was just trying to get in and out, bro. I was just trying to get in and out. It's busy out there. I'm just getting in. I'm just like, Lovely to hear you. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to hear your opinion. Yes, Morocco. Oh, Belgium scored. Hey. And then I was flying out. Yeah. But you're Morocco, right?
Nah, I'm not. I mean, when I'm in Morocco, as I'm Morocco, but anywhere else in the world, it's Senegal for me.
I've got to say something else about Africa, man. Whenever I land there, there's something, at first it winds me up. I've ordered my taxi to meet me here. I'm saying, where's the taxi? They say, just wait. Bro, I've stepped into an oven out here. Like, just wait. And that just wait, you're just forced to just be with yourself, man. And there's something about being on African soil and the truth hitting you. It's just the truth about lots of deep stuff, man. Your relationship, your work, football, like all. I found it, as I always do. We were only there 4 days, but I came back so zen. I was so like in a zone. And there's something about being on that soil, which is, it's beautiful to have that. And I think it's not, I think that's something that isn't only exclusive to children of the soil. And I mean the whole diaspora. I think that's the same wherever you're from. I think it was Tony Blair who said that I defy anyone to go to Africa and not come back changed in some way. So there's something beautiful about the time, the space out there.
It's quite nice that you're forced to be more patient out there as well, especially in the West, and even in the kind of jobs that we do. You can get caught in the trap of just being always on, and I don't know, you're a hard worker, people can see from your work, but being in an environment that forces you to slow down, even though it's frustrating, it's so beneficial, because when else would you have to do that in life? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I need more of it. I want more of it. I kind of want to visit every African nation. I want to visit.
Just take me next time, bro.
Bro,
take me next time, bro.
We're doing it. Producers, sort out the budget. So we covered a bit of England. We covered a bit of Marrakech, Morocco. Should we talk a little bit about Egypt, Argentina?
Yeah, man. I mean, what a game. It's first of all, I'll say it was an amazing game to watch. Highly emotional. I think when Egypt went 1-up, we thought, wait, hold on a minute, because a lot of people that I was speaking to before, that maybe, didn't watch AFCON, or maybe underestimated the quality of African teams, or maybe have seen that, the likes of Mo Salah still has a lot of quality, but coming maybe to the end of his career, just didn't really expect them to show up. It was almost, a foregone conclusion that Argentina would go and do the business. But going 2-0 down, and some great goals, a goal disallowed as well. Egypt played very, very well. But as we've come to see we can talk about this today, but a lot of African teams seem to be falling at the final hurdle in the latter stages of the game. And I don't know why that is, but when Argentina pulled one back, I just had a feeling man. I was like, they're not going to hold on. Or it's going to penalties is what I thought would happen. Obviously didn't even get that far. Did you watch the game?
So Mrs. G and I were watching the tennis. Okay. And then my daughter and her boyfriend were like, are you not watching this game? So we flicked over and got the latter stages of it. So we didn't see the whole drama, but obviously went back and watched highlights. I found it really interesting and bold of Hassam, bold or honest, to make that symbol to the referee, which is really really provocative. And actually, I mean, I hope the conversations continue about some of the decisions that were made. If African teams need to go away and think, how do we hold on to these leads? I believe that they'll go and do that. It's kind of weird because like I think like me, you were probably brought up being told you've got to work 10 times as hard, and when you think about a referee, the best referee from your continent, not getting into a competition, when you think about I don't know, being searched on the tarmac, or even just being other, like the Iranian team having to rest in the air whilst they're sleeping and get to and from games. It is a bit strange. We've built up a certain level of resilience to see these things, deal with them, and move forward. I think the next generation are a bit like, wait, hold on a minute, what's going on there? They'll question certain things. I mean, taking that free kick back 110 yards for that goal that was disallowed is really strange to me. And then McAllister, who's my boy, but that foul just before the Messi goal is really strange for that not to be reciprocated, you know? So I don't know if African teams have got a thing about not holding on. I don't know.
I got a few things to say.
Please.
So the first question to kind of pose to you is, there's, talking about Zico's goal specifically, the disallowed one you just mentioned, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around. I'm sure you've seen of FIFA conspiring to make this Messi's World Cup. Whether you believe that or not, I can't comment. But do you think that there's a kind of subconscious bias to the bigger nations, the bigger footballing teams in this World Cup? Because I think, shoe on the other foot, Messi scoring a goal like that, a foul on the other end of the pitch, I don't know if that goal's getting disallowed. I don't think it's, like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, I don't think it's vindictive. I think maybe it's subconscious. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory personally. But is there a kind of favor and bias towards the bigger names in the tournament?
Yeah. I think there are. I think it's just human nature, I don't know Djokovic from Adam, but where I've seen him win so much, there was a little bit of me that really wanted him to break yet another record. Now, that's just me as a human being. So if I was a line judge, and obviously they've taken all the line judges out of Wimbledon now, so it's all done by their version of VA, Hawkeye, they call it. So I think there is a bias, the most obvious one is, would Trump overturn Jarrell Kwanzaa's red card? We're human beings, and so I don't think we can switch off our bias or our unconscious bias. The best we can do is look at it in the face and ask the questions, is something really happening here? Rather than, I don't think so, just dismiss it and move on.
100%. I think that's a good way to look at it. I'm going to read you a few stats to see what you make of this. Every African team eliminated in the round of 32 conceded after the 85th minute. Morocco being the only side that didn't. South Africa conceded in the 91st and 92nd minute versus Canada. Ivory Coast in that game, Haaland scored 86th minute. Egypt, obviously the game that we're just talking about, 2-0 up, conceded all their goals within 11 minutes. What is happening? Is it a mentality issue? Is it game management? I read yesterday that Senegal just sacked their head coach. Obviously Papa Gueye made a public comment about the fact that he'll never play for them while this coaching team is still there because of the decisions that they made with substitutes and that kind of stuff. Is it the stuff we were saying about subconscious bias, big decisions going towards the bigger teams in the latter stages of the game? Those stats are quite wild, man, for so many African teams to struggle late in games.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of those stats. Um, and look, I don't know if I have the complete answer to it. Um, is there some questions whilst you were talking that came to my mind? Is there a case of belief?
Mm.
Is there not a case, or is there a question mark around belief? Because as Africans, we do put on a veneer and we work really hard and we do all of these things, but that costs you a certain amount of energy. If you don't
Mm.
have to do that, there's a certain amount of privilege that goes with not having to do those things. So is the cost of that catching up with us? um, I can't believe that endurance and mental fortitude is a
Mm.
problem if you come from the continent of Africa. I
100%.
just
I'm so glad you
cannot
said that. Yeah.
believe that is a problem.
Mm.
Obviously, we're not a monolith. Some people may struggle with that, but I remember Mane um, being asked about a penalty that he took. I've probably shared this story before. It's a Liverpool story. You'll love it. Mane, a penalty
Oh,
he
will I?
took. Trust me. A penalty he took, and the commentator said, I mean, the pressure that must have been coursing through your veins as you stepped up. And he was like, pressure? Suddenly you realize you're talking to a guy who left his home at 8 years old or something, walked
Mm.
across countries to play football, to get a contract, walked to another country. These guys, pressure, endurance, mental fortitude, ingrained. So
Mm.
I'm not sure that I would say, oh, I think I think we sell ourselves short if we just go African nations are this.
Yeah.
It's the same stuff that when we were younger, they used to go, African players are,
Mm.
solid, fast, not ballers, and then
Strong. Yeah.
suddenly strong, and like, oh, he's such a beast up front, or he's such a whatever. And then you find yourself getting really shocked at a World Cup at some of the football. Even that disallowed goal from Egypt, many people are saying that would have been one of the goals of World Cup tournament history.
Absolutely.
Um, so don't don't get caught out
Mm.
believing these kind of cliched responses or cheap quib responses to what's going on there. But it's something that we do need to look at.
100%. Man, just as you were talking, I'm reminded of some of the great flair players from the continent, like JJ Okocha, man.
Mm,
What a guy. Just players that obviously are strong, have the mentality, but
mm,
just the skill level was
mm,
unreal. And I feel like he was someone that really helped to break down that narrative that,
mm,
we're not just strong and physical, but there's a lot of skill and flair to our game as well. And
mm,
we've seen, players like Kudus, for example, come into the league and show that
mm-hmm,
as well.
mm-hmm. But even both of us, like Iwobi, looked like a worldie in the
Yeah,
AFCONs, didn't he? And it,
he was
it
so
makes
good.
me think about. It'll be interesting to see what the next generation of talent decide to do, because one of the most heartbreaking things for me is Kobe Mainu. England needed a midfielder and he didn't get brought on. And I get it. I understand. Reece James is the captain of his club. I understand you might want leaders, authority, out there, but how are players going to learn and develop
Mm.
in their at international level? And when I think of what he would have done in a Ghanaian shirt and how he would have looked in a Ghanaian shirt, it is. I mean, Welbeck still to this day, my dad, God rest his soul, I still think he might be in heaven, still not forgiving Welbeck. No, no shade, Welbeck. If you're listening, we love you, brother. It's all good. But it's more just the sadness of seeing where these international careers could go, and I wonder what the next generation will do, especially if they keep this format for the World Cup. It'll be interesting to see how.
I think we'll see more players playing for their home nations. Do you know what we should do for the last episode of our World Cup special is we should both be tasked by our producers of coming up with a starting 11 each of players from the diaspora that could have played for African countries, but chose the countries they were born in, for example.
Okay, deal. Done.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, okay. Bro, so semi-finals, any predictions? So we've got Spain, France, Argentina, England.
I think we're going to see one upset, but I don't know where it's going to come from. I think everyone is just assuming, well, if you live in England anyway, we're assuming that Messi's been amazing this tournament, but if you look at the whole squad compared to English talent, we should hopefully have what it takes to beat Argentina. But I just think it's looking too easy for France. And whenever something looks too easy, I'm like, there's a full sense of security, a potential banana skin on the way. I wouldn't be surprised if Spain get past France. They shouldn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's an England-Spain final. How are you feeling about it?
So that would be a repetition of the Euros, isn't it? Was that was that England-Spain?
Also read the other day that England or Messi has never faced England, if I'm correct. Apparently,
we haven't played Argentina for 26 years.
Wow.
I think it's the David Beckham red card.
Oh yes,
I think that's the last time.
26 years ago, man. I feel so old.
So speaking of football rivalries, that's a massive one. That is a massive one. Obviously, you've got like Hand of God in that history. You've got and again, you know, politics, football separate them, but the Falklands War plays into that rivalry as well. The German-English football rivalry, the World War II, that plays into that rivalry. I think Argentina are gettable. I think that it looks easy for France, admittedly, but I feel like they're in gear 3. I feel like they've still got levels to go.
Yeah.
And that is frightening. I'm hoping. I'm actually hoping for an England-France final. And hoping for an England win, obviously. But this is football, man. We don't know.
We don't know. How about if it's 1-1 and England have an opportunity to score in injury time to win it, but the only way that they can win it is by a McAllister own goal? Would you want them to get the result?
100%. That's like asking me if Ghana were playing Uruguay and the only way Ghana could win it was by a Luis Suarez own goal. Bro, I would kick that ball in for. I would kick his foot to kick that ball in for him. Yeah, man. McAllister, lovely, but he's not in that this week. He's in a different shirt, my bro. Yeah.
Good, man. See what happens. As this is AFCONnect, obviously the sad news about Jaden Adams, the South Africa player that sadly lost his life.
Yeah.
I don't think the investigations are complete, but obviously an African team. It's weird that the tournament's still going on and someone that played in it is sadly not here. But for me, reading that story, it was a reminder that as much as we like to use football as an escape, there is life outside of it, and it has impact on society. Footballers are real people that go through stuff like everyone else, and I was just really, really sad to hear it. So thoughts to him, his family, his loved ones. Very sad news.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's very well said, brother. Very well said. Yeah, thanks for that, Gavi. Always a pleasure talking to you. And listen, I'm sorry that we did not get to Marrakech, Mokoro. Yeah. But but we will do a trip. We'll do a trip. That will be such fun. But the great news is we will be back very soon with more AFCONnect. So stay subscribed and watch out here and on socials for more news about that. But for now, Guvy B, will you do us the honor of reading us out?
Absolutely. AFCONnect is a Hatch Wednesday production. Executive producers are me, Guvna B, David Gyasi, Emma Gyasi, Timothy Fornara, Robert Douglas, and Glenn Funnel. The music is written by me, Guvna B, and our clips editor for this episode is Jeremiah Balogun. We're distributed by our friends at Buzzsprout and on YouTube. Your support means the world to us, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to AFCONnect on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week. We'll see you when we see you.